Imagine standing in front of her, not even close enough to touch her. No physical contact, no words spoken, just presence. And yet, you can feel it. She's leaning in. Her eyes scan your face a little too long. She adjusts her hair, shifts her weight. Her breathing changes. Something in her is being pulled toward you, and she doesn't even know why. That's not coincidence. That's not luck. That's power. The power of masculine sexual tension. The kind of energy that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to act. It commands, it pulls, it seduces, without ever laying a finger. Most men think seduction begins with what they say, or what they do physically. They imagine it starts with the right opener, a cool line, or the perfect moment to touch her hand. But the truth is, the seduction begins long before any of that. It starts in you, in your energy, in your internal world. Neil Strauss, in The Game, makes it clear that the true seducer doesn't chase, he magnetizes. And one of the strongest magnets isn't your hand or your words, it's the energy you radiate without touching her at all. Mystery, his mentor, called it building tension. Others have called it creating a vacuum or being a high-value presence. But let's break this down to something even deeper. Desire is not created by touching her. It's created by what you withhold. Think about that for a second. What you withhold. You see, most guys are in a rush to make a move, to escalate, to be physical. And that kills the suspense. It's like skipping to the last page of the book. You ruin the mystery. And women? They live for the mystery. They want to feel their own desire grow slowly. They want that rising tension, that anticipation, that uncertainty that makes every glance, every silence, feel electric. And here's the truth very few men understand. The longer you can build that tension without breaking it, the stronger the attraction becomes. Touch is a release, but before the release comes the buildup. And it's in that buildup where her desire is born. Now, let's talk practical. Because this isn't some vague spiritual idea. It's a skill. And like all skills, it can be trained. The first key? Eye contact. I'm not talking about casual glances. I mean deep, unapologetic, anchored eye contact. The kind that doesn't flinch. The kind that holds space. When you lock eyes with a woman and you don't look away, you're saying something primal without saying a word. You're saying, I see you. I'm not afraid of your beauty. I'm not desperate to impress you. I'm right here, and I want you to feel me. But it doesn't stop there. What matters is how you look at her. If you're needy, if you're looking for validation, if you're secretly hoping she smiles back, you've already lost. That's not seductive. That's approval-seeking, and she can smell it. Real, seductive eye contact comes from a place of inner certainty, a calm, masculine presence that says, I don't need anything from you, but if you come closer, you'll feel something you've never felt before. Hold that gaze, not with intensity, but with depth, with stillness, with curiosity. Let your eyes say, I know something you don't. That's where the heat starts to rise. Now combine that with the second ingredient, voice control. Even if you're not saying much, the tone of your voice matters. Lower your tone, slow your pace. Don't rush your words. Women are far more sensitive to vocal tonality than men. A slow, grounded, masculine voice speaks to her unconscious mind. It tells her you're confident, in control, and present. Remember, presence is arousal. When you're fully present with a woman, when your attention isn't scattered, when you're not overthinking, when you're not trying to impress, she feels it, and it draws her in. Think of James Bond. He doesn't talk fast, he doesn't fidget, he doesn't try to fill the silence. He owns the silence. He's composed, intentional. And in that stillness, women project fantasies. They start wondering what you're thinking. They start trying to decode your vibe. That's how desire builds, in her mind. Because here's the secret. Women are not aroused the way men are. We're visual, immediate, stimulus-driven. But women? Women are narrative creatures. They need a story. They want to imagine. So when you don't touch her, when you just look and pause and speak with intention, you give her the gift of fantasy. And that, my friend, is 10 times more powerful than jumping into physical escalation too soon. But let's go even deeper. There's something called sexual containment. David Deida, author of The Way of the Superior Man, talks about this. He explains that a man who can feel his sexual energy, who can feel his desire, but doesn't need to act on it right away, is deeply magnetic to women. Why? Because it shows power, self-control, depth. Imagine this. You're sitting across from her. You feel the pull, you feel the desire. But instead of reaching out, instead of making your move, you sit with it. You breathe. You let her feel that you're turned on, but you don't break. You don't chase. You don't react. That creates an erotic charge, a suspense. And that suspense is what drives her crazy. Because now she's not just attracted. She's curious. She starts wondering, what's he waiting for? Why isn't he trying anything? Why does he look at me like that and do nothing? That's the edge where seduction lives. And most men never get there because they move too fast. They can't hold the tension. They can't sit in the fire. But you, if you master this, you become unforgettable. Let's break this down even more tactically. When you're talking to her, use pauses. Don't fill the space. A confident man isn't afraid of silence. In fact, silence becomes your weapon. It forces her to lean in, to wait, to anticipate. When you speak, let your words land. Don't chase her reaction. Don't look for approval. Make statements, not questions, not rambles. Statements, confident, grounded, clear. And when you're near her physically, use proximity sparingly. Don't invade her space. Get close, and then pull back. Let her feel the shift. Let her notice that you're in control, not just of the space, but of yourself. It's called push-pull. Give her something, then take it away. Give her your presence, then look away. Let her miss your gaze. Let her feel that loss. That's how you activate her pursuit. That's how you flip the dynamic. Remember, you are not trying to seduce her body. You're seducing her imagination. And once you enter that territory, once she starts playing scenarios in her mind, once she starts wondering what it would be like to be touched by you, then touching her becomes unnecessary. Because she's already fantasizing, she's already feeling, and that's the mark of a true seducer. There's a moment, subtle, almost imperceptible, when a woman starts to feel something she can't quite name. It doesn't come from your touch. It doesn't come from your words. It comes from how you are, the way you walk into a room, the way you occupy space, the way you withhold attention, not out of arrogance, but out of intent. Most men misunderstand this. They think creating desire is about constantly showing interest, complimenting her, laughing at her jokes, giving her 100% of their attention like a golden retriever desperate for approval. But the truth? That floods her system. It overwhelms. It flattens the mystery. If she feels like she already has you, there's nothing to desire, nothing to earn, nothing to wonder about. The key is to create gaps. Gaps in certainty, gaps in attention, gaps in emotional availability. Not to play games, but to create space for her attraction to grow. Robert Greene calls this the law of absence. In The Art of Seduction, he explains that strategic absence inflames desire, that people long most for what they don't fully possess. That seduction isn't about filling her up, it's about leaving her wanting more. So how does that look in practice? You're with her, and you're fully present, but not always predictable. You're engaged, but you're not emotionally naked. You give, but you don't spill. You offer glimpses, just enough to hook her imagination. Let her work a little. Let her earn your layers. That's what builds fascination. Now, here's a powerful technique most men ignore: non-reactivity. Women will test you. Consciously or unconsciously, they want to see if you're grounded, if you're easily shaken, if you change your energy based on theirs. Let's say she suddenly pulls back, or throws out a teasing comment, or flirts with someone else in front of you. An average man reacts. He gets insecure, defensive, tries to prove himself, tries to regain her attention. But the man who understands real seduction, he remains calm, composed. Maybe he smiles slightly. Maybe he says nothing. Maybe he shifts his attention elsewhere without resentment, without neediness. He doesn't play her game because he doesn't need to. And that drives her wild. Why? Because it shows status. It shows that your sense of self isn't tied to her approval, that you're internally validated, that you're a man who lives in his own reality, and she has to qualify herself to enter it. This is where the invisible seduction takes root. She starts thinking about you when you're not around, wondering what you're doing, why you didn't chase, why you seemed unaffected. That kind of mystery is intoxicating. Because now, she's doing the imagining. And in her imagination, anything is possible. That's where her desire is no longer in your hands. It's burning in her mind. Another dimension we need to explore is body language control. Your posture, your gestures, your stillness, they all broadcast signals before you ever speak. The seducer doesn't fidget. He doesn't shrink himself. He doesn't twitch nervously when she looks at him. Instead, he's relaxed, upright, broad, slow. His movements are deliberate, intentional. He touches his glass slowly. He leans back with confidence. He maintains an open frame. When a woman sees a man completely at ease in his own skin, it activates something primal. It signals safety, but also danger. The kind of danger that makes her pulse quicken, not because he's threatening, but because he's unpredictable. He's composed, but you can feel a fire underneath. That controlled intensity is the essence of sexual polarity. Because let's be real, seduction isn't just about charm, it's about contrast. Masculine energy is directional, focused, penetrating. Feminine energy is expressive, fluid, receptive. When you ground yourself in your masculine core, calm, firm, unshakable, it pulls her into her feminine. She softens, she surrenders, and she starts to feel safe desiring you. Not because you said the perfect words, not because you touched her, but because your energy gave her the permission to open. Let's take this further. There's something most men overlook: energetic tension. When you're truly connected to your own sexuality, not in a creepy or performative way, but in a grounded, embodied way, she feels it. Even across the room, your energy speaks before you do. Women are attuned to it. They can tell if you're needy or anxious or pretending, and they can also tell when your sexual energy is contained, potent, and rooted in presence. Here's how you cultivate that: through awareness, through breath, through restraint. When you're with her, instead of trying to jump into action, feel your arousal and just sit with it. Breathe into it. Relax your body. Let it build. Don't suppress it. Don't act on it. Just be with it. That creates a kind of magnetic field around you. You don't need to initiate anything, because she's picking up the signal. And when your arousal is clean, not desperate, not performative, but centered, she'll start to feel turned on without even understanding why. That's the edge. That's what makes her think about you later. When she's alone, when she's in bed, when she's scrolling through her phone wondering why your eyes keep flashing back in her mind. You didn't touch her, you didn't push anything, but your energy left a mark. And now she wants more. That's not manipulation. That's mastery. Mastery of your own presence. Mastery of your intention. Mastery of tension. And most importantly, it's the mastery of not rushing the moment. Because the most seductive men know it's not about what you do to her. It's about what she starts to feel in your presence, what you allow her to feel, and what you don't force. So instead of trying to impress her, create space. Instead of touching her body, touch her attention. Instead of chasing validation, stand still and let her come to you. And the moment she does, she won't even realize she made the first move. There's a reason why some men walk into a room and women instinctively turn their heads before a word is spoken, before any interaction begins. It's not about looks. It's not about money. It's not even about status in the traditional sense. It's about the feeling they carry inside, the aura they project, the silent confidence that whispers, "I don't chase, I attract." This brings us to a forgotten element in seduction: emotional self-sufficiency. When a man is emotionally full, when he doesn't need anything from her to feel like a man, that independence radiates. It speaks to her subconscious. It tells her, this man is whole. He's not asking me to complete him. He's not trying to fill a void. He's already complete, and that is rare. Why does this matter? Because women are drawn to what feels solid, not hard or rigid, but grounded. If she senses you're seeking validation, if your value depends on how she responds, you instantly become less desirable. But when she feels that your value is non-negotiable, something begins to shift. She starts investing. Her curiosity grows. She begins scanning you for deeper layers, because you haven't laid everything out for her to consume. And in that curiosity, attraction blooms. Another dimension to desire without touch is the power of suggestion. A master seducer doesn't say everything. He implies. He hints. He drops fragments that activate her imagination and let her mind do the rest. Let's be honest. What happens in her imagination will always be more vivid than anything you can engineer with your hands. That's why mystery beats overexposure. That's why innuendo beats explanation. So the next time you're talking to her, instead of telling her what you want to do, describe something that stirs her mind. A scenario, a memory, a metaphor that's sensual but ambiguous. Say something like, "There's something about silence between two people that makes everything else louder." Or, "I like when someone doesn't rush, when things unfold naturally, but with tension underneath." You're not describing an act, you're describing a feeling. And the beauty of that? Her mind fills in the blanks. And what she imagines will always be more tailored to her desires than anything you could orchestrate. That's seduction through mental stimulation, and it's far more powerful than most men ever realize. Now let's talk about the timing of energy. You see, women have emotional rhythms. If you're too available too early, you create saturation. You burn out the mystery. But if you're always distant, you create frustration or disinterest. The secret is to oscillate. Give her a moment of closeness, a brief, potent connection, then pull back. Let her sit with it. Let her hunger grow. Then return, re-engage, give another small dose of depth, and step away again. This rhythm mimics the natural push and pull of desire. It mirrors the way tension rises in stories, in music, in life. And when done right, it creates a kind of emotional addiction. Because now, she starts to crave the next wave of your presence. She doesn't even realize she's waiting for your energy to return. That's how you get into her system. Not through constant effort, but through calculated impact. Quality over quantity. Precision over volume. And this isn't about playing games, it's about leading the dance. Now let's dive into an often overlooked layer, your internal erotic world. Most men outsource desire. They rely on visual stimulation, external triggers, porn, or fantasies that are all reactionary. But the seductive man has a rich internal erotic landscape. He doesn't wait for arousal, he cultivates it. He knows how to feel turned on without acting it out. He can sit in desire, breathe through it, let it charge him without rushing to release it. This inner fire becomes a field around him. Women feel it, especially the ones who are emotionally and sexually attuned. They feel that he's connected to his body, his breath, his instincts, and yet he's in control of them, and that's insanely attractive. It tells her, this man can hold intensity. He won't fold under pressure. He knows what he wants, but he doesn't need it. That level of erotic self-possession is a rare quality, and it doesn't require touching her. It just requires being deeply in touch with yourself. And speaking of touch, here's something even more advanced. Touch without touching. There's a phenomenon in psychology called mirror neurons. When someone feels intensely connected to another person, their brain begins to simulate the experiences of that other person. This is why, when you describe a sensation vividly, someone listening might feel it in their own body. So if you're able to speak from a place of embodied sensuality, if your words are rich with sensation, if your gaze carries the heat of unspoken thoughts, her brain starts to simulate being touched. She might get goosebumps. Her breath might change. Her skin may flush slightly. And you haven't even moved an inch. That's the real edge. That's how the deepest seducers work. Not by doing more, but by being more. By channeling an experience that she begins to live from the inside out. And when that happens, the body becomes secondary. The desire is already anchored in her mind, her emotions, her nervous system. She's already yours, and you haven't even touched her. And here's the truth, brother. You don't need to touch her body to make her crave yours. When you learn to control your presence, when you build tension instead of releasing it too soon, when you lead with stillness, when you radiate desire without chasing, it shifts everything. Suddenly, you're not the guy trying to win her. You're the man she can't stop thinking about. And that's the shift. That's the moment you stop being just another man and start becoming an experience, a memory, a presence that lingers in her mind long after the night ends. Because in the end, touch fades. But what she imagines when you don't touch her, that stays. So the next time you're in front of a woman, remember this. Your most powerful tool is not your hands. It's your silence, your stillness, your tension, your mystery. Let her feel the fire you've mastered without burning her with it too soon. And if you've felt something awaken in you during this video, if something deep inside clicked, if your mind started connecting the dots and your energy shifted even a little, then I want you to take action. Drop a comment below. Tell me what moment hit you the hardest. What insight flipped a switch? I want to hear your story. And more than that, share this with another man who needs to hear it. A brother stuck in the trap of chasing who doesn't yet know that magnetism beats motion. Because this channel, it's not about tricks, it's about transformation. If you're ready to stop being forgettable and start becoming unforgettable, then like this video, hit subscribe and turn on the notifications. Because what's coming next will take you even deeper into the kind of power most men will never access. You don't need to touch her to seduce her. You just need to learn how to move her without ever moving, and once you do, she won't want to be anywhere else but in your orbit.